Paul from Beyond Mortal Dreams. Welcome to Nightbreed. How's it going?
Hey, how you going? Cheers for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's good. So yeah, you guys have a new album coming out, but if it's all right, I wouldn't mind going way back to the beginning to have a chat about that first, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. So I guess first of all, what got you into the metal? How did you first get into it?
Well, this is going back, oh god, quite a while now. Back in high school, I guess. The first bands I started listening to was actually Wasp and Iron Maiden, and some of the old classic heavy metal, and into thrash, like your Big Four, and also Creator and Testament and other sort of bands. Candlemass were actually a really band I really loved back in high school as well. So there was a bit of a variety in genres, not too much, mainly more on the sort of harder side with a bit of the classic and doom mixed in. But the earliest metal I was getting into when I was younger was bands like I said, like Iron Maiden, Wasp, Metallica, Megadeth, Judas Priest as well. So and Dio, Dio was a big fave as well.
Yeah,
that's actually my old man's fault because he used to have Dio tape cassettes and stuff he used to listen to when I was a kid. So
yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So this we're going. Yeah, this is back in the '80s. So
yeah. So what made you first, pick up a guitar and start making some music?
Well, when I first started playing in bands, I was just a vocalist. I didn't actually pick up any instruments until I was well into my 20s. That actually came later. So my earliest times in bands, and even like the very earliest incarnation of Beyond Mortal Dreams, which was in 1995, I was actually still a vocalist. It wasn't until later where I just had that urge to sort of learn to play, so it just felt like I had a whole lot of ideas sort of buzzing in my head and no sort of real way of actually expressing it. So it sort of just led to that. I guess a lot of metalheads probably, have the same kind of feeling, that passion, that drive, they love that music so much, sort of inspires them to be able to want to create their own. So,
yeah.
That's pretty much what it was. Just that feeling of just wanting to fucking live for it, it's like an art form you want to express. And it just inspired me to start in death metal bands as a vocalist, and then later on to actually pick up bass and guitar and to be able to learn, just learn to play and even just record and make my own music that way. So just wanting to get all those ideas out, without badly trying to explain to other guitarists, oh, this is what I mean here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real confused. What?
Yeah, sure. So were you part of the band when they were Suffering back in '92? Like, were you there back then as well?
Yes. In fact, the very, very early days, back in '92, '93, it was Suffering. When I first joined them, they used to be called Maggot Feast.
Oh, nice.
And it changed to Suffering after that. And our very first shows that we did were under that name, and it was in '95 where we actually ended up going to the name Beyond Mortal Dreams. We discovered back then there was at least 2 or 3 different bands called Suffering out there in the world, and it's just like, oh, we should probably change it. So that's sort of how that came about. So
yeah, cool. What do you remember about first getting together? Like, how'd you meet the rest of the band and that kind of stuff?
Well, the one of the old guitarists, one of the original members, he and I actually met and were jamming with another drummer, and then it was just through word of mouth that there was another band looking for other members, and both of us ended up actually jamming with them together, and we sort of just got together. And we just sort of hit it off and carried on, just started making some music. And we just sort of started off in that way.
Yeah, cool. And what was Adelaide like back then for gigs? Like, you had some awesome supports eventually, but like early on, were there sort of local shows you could play easily enough?
Yeah, I mean, I came into the have seen in the early 90s. I mean, yeah, I know in the early days, say in the 80s, it used to be actually quite vibrant. There used to be a lot of metal gigs. Not good scene, and there was still in the early 90s as well. Like a lot of death metal bands were sort of starting to pop up around then, and there's a lot of local shows happening. But I mean, as far as the rest of the country did the same. But as far as actually any international bands touring, there wasn't that many. It was actually very few and far between in the 90s, and it didn't really sort of start picking up steam until later and then into the 2000s as well. But I guess we were just lucky enough to be able to get on the supports like Cannibal Corpse and Deicide back in '95.
Yeah.
We knew a guy who was actually a promoter that sort of came across us, and he actually gave us those shows, and quite lucky to actually get on those actually. So, it was a good times.
Yeah, for sure. And that would have been the Chris Barnes era, right, of Cannibal Corpse?
Yes.
Yeah.
That Cannibal Corpse tour was the Bleeding era.
Oh, yeah, yep.
That was, I think that might have even been the last tour he did with them. I don't know if you're wrong, but I mean, it wasn't long after that they ended up leaving and Corpse Corona came in. But that was still Chris Barnes era. So.
Yeah, I love that old stuff, man. They're good, mate. Yeah, nice one. Cool. So 1999, you guys have a little break. What happened? Why the split?
Our drummer at the time, Matt, he moved on, and we were sort of going through a bit of a lineup change, and also there was that period of experimentation as well, with sort of messing around with different sort of genres, sort of putting it into what we were doing death metal wise as well. But I guess it just sort of fizzled out a bit, like people just move on, life happens as it does, and we sort of went from there, and I didn't really do much for a little while after that, but wasn't actually that much longer. I think it would have been a year or so later. Matt and I actually got together again, started jamming with Don, who's in Sun Tzu now, but that was when we did Oni together. And maybe a couple of years after that, sort of Oni was sort of parted ways, and Matt and I were like, man, we need to keep going. We were sort of like, let's just get Beyond Mortal happening again, because he and I are both original members, and we're like, shit, why not? So that's where it sort of, that's sort of started kicking off late 2003 into 2004, when that sort of started resurfacing and being resurrected again. So
that's cool. So again, the Oni fizzling out, was that just kind of another thing, and we kind of had enough, people moving on, that sort of stuff?
I guess that's pretty much what it was. I think musically, I think we were starting to sort of wanting to sort of go in sort of different directions as well. I know Don is very much into the Japanese mythology and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, he loves to put that into what he does with Sun Tzu, and especially that was the whole point of Oni as well. And Matt, that was pretty cool. I love that idea too. Matt and I were sort of going more towards a much more aggressive, sort of more darker sort of side, I think. In a way, I guess sort of just where our interests were taking us. That's sort of where that went in the end. I think some of the earliest material that ended up on the early 2000s BMD demos were actually still written by he and I, while we were actually still in Oni.
Okay.
That sort of germinated from there, kind of thing. But it just sort of we sort of parted ways, wanted to sort of do different things, that's where we sort of picked up Beyond Mortal again, and just launched it again from there. So, out of the ashes.
That's cool. All right, so if we jump forward to the new album that comes out April 15, Abomination of the Flames. How was this approach compared to your early recorded stuff? Was there anything kind of different going on?
Oh, that's my phone. Hang on.
Oh, no stress. Yeah.
Well, This time, I kind of wanted to. I mean, we've only shown one track from it first. So that track, while it sort of stands on its own, apart from everything else we've done before, that's sort of a little bit more related to what the Dreaming Death EP was. The new album, I actually wanted to sort of approach the music to have a bit of a combination of Dreaming Death and the earlier From Hell album. So a bit more of that sort of raw aggression like what From Hell had, with that sort of more darker cinematic sort of vibes that the Dreaming Death EP had. And so those two elements combined together is pretty much what Abomination of the Flames is. It's got like a really good sort of, I mean, I think a really good blend of that just super dark sort of atmospheric element, as well as just raw death metal aggression as well. So that's pretty much what you'll be seeing and hearing when the album comes out in April.
Yeah, I like that track. They Are Seven. Yeah, that's the one you brought out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that cool kind of clean electronic voice bit, and then into the more deathy stuff. Yeah, it's a cool mix. That sounds good. Yeah. So how does the writing work with you guys? Like, are you kind of getting together, or is it you bringing riffs, or have you got like a complete thing? You're like, this is my one. You know?
Well, it's myself that actually does all the material as far as writing goes.
Yep.
I'll put all the compositions together, and then I'll take it to the other and say, this is what I've got. And say, yeah, just sort of play it, just put your spin on it, so long as it's got that kind of vibe. I mean, like they were just pretty happy for me to come up with all the material and sort of just share it with them, and they put their little spin on it too as well. So and Jamie with his solos, he's a really good guitar player that's got some real sort of out of the box thinking when it comes to his solo compositions, and some of that really does stand out on the album, as you'll hear. And same with Simon, the drummer as well, and Ross, who's the bass player, very talented bass player. He puts in his little bits, he might, come up with his little licks and stuff like that I wouldn't do when I write all the demos and show them. So, they definitely put in their elements and their personality into the music. But as far as the basic composition goes, that's all me.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. And is there, like, the album cover looks really great. What was the concept there? Like, did you have something in mind when you sort of, commissioned that or whatever? My basic inspiration for the actual song was taken, from the Warhammer 40,000, the idea of the warp, with the demons in this sort of ether, or this ethereal sort of warp sort of realm that can actually come out into the physical world kind of thing, and just basically just devour and destroy and all that kind of thing. All the good stuff. But that was the foundation for the inspiration for the song. So I did want the artwork to sort of reflect that kind of feeling as well. Yeah. Oh, cool. Sorry.
That was where that was born out of. So
yeah, cool. So we've got the new lyric video. Are there any other videos planned for this one?
We are going to be putting out another teaser before the album drops. That's all I'll reveal at this time. I mean, we are thinking about producing some other videos, but for the time being, before the album comes out, there will be another song drop. I don't exactly know when, but it will be sometime before the actual album's released.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And tricky question, but are there shows planned? Like, is there anything?
Well, Beyond Mortal is pretty much just a recording entity now. I mean, it has been for a while. The members have all sort of moved on. I mean, we all live pretty far away now. A couple of us are in closer proximity, but guitar players moved outside of the city, in the country area now, and our drummer was in Alice Springs for a while. I think he's actually moved out of there. He was spending a lot of time up there up until recently. So yeah, I mean, as far as the band goes, it's pretty much more just a recording thing.
Yeah. Mm.
Because whatever happens in the future from now, I mean, I'm still actually writing songs. I mean, I've got material halfway for another album at the moment. So, I mean, that's all progressing. But what'll happen when we're ready to actually record, I'm going to cross that bridge when I get to it. But yeah, as far as it ever being live again, I mean, I love it. I would love for it to happen, but I don't think it would really. But I'm quite happy just to just keep writing material, keep recording, and releasing, sharing material. So
enough.
That.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, man. That's good. Cool. All right, look, Paul, thanks heaps for your time. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the rest of this album. And the links are below. Everyone watching this, check it out, get into it. So yeah, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right.
Cheers.